with me through LinkedIn, or you can connect with me through Michael. And it was a pleasure. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Our next speaker apparently doesn't need any introduction. Engin from E.ON, welcome to the floor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So maybe it's not the best to be one of the last speakers in a winter night, let's say. So since the topic is culture, I would like to start with a cultural practice that we have at E.ON and to do it with you. How would you rate your level of energy at the moment? Can you please show me with your hands from 1 to 5? And this is not German school grading, so 1 is very low and 5 is I'm fully energized. Can you show me the hands, please? 4s, 3s, 4s, 3s, 4s. Yeah, quite okay, I would say. So no 2s, no 1s. So my target would be to keep you at least at the same energy level. So this is my promise. I would like to show you a couple of pictures. So the first one is this. This is a picture from 2012 London Olympic Games. And what you see here is the finish line of a women race for 100 meters. And what do you see here? What kind of athletes you see here? Big muscles, right? Huge power. And what kind of race do you think they are running? It's a race that each and every of them has a very singular viewpoint of the target, right? There's not a real strategy, I would say, because what they would like to do is really to give their max in a couple of seconds, not seeing each other, because they don't have time for that. Even for men, I think they do it in a single breath. And the picture is from the finish line, and what you see here is a sheer explosion of power, right? I mean, limbs of out of control. So I would call it power without control. How about that one? Do you know this guy, by the way? Mo Farah, Sir Mo Farah, one of the most successful British track athletes in the history, born in Somalia. This is the same year, 2012, London Olympics. And now this is the finish line for 10,000 meter for men. What kind of athletes you see here? Less power, maybe, huh? Small muscles, tiny people, but definitely more endurance, more flexibility. And what kind of race they are running? So they set a race strategy, and then throughout the race, they observe each other, the opponents, what the other is doing. Shall I need to readjust my pace? Do I need to run a bit faster? So completely reflecting and observing all the time, and changing the strategy throughout the race if needed, and still keeping the power to sprint at the last 400 meters, self-reflecting all the time. So why I showed you those two pictures? What's the relevance of my topic? The same year, 2012, so almost a decade ago, the race for the utility companies, energy companies, has started to change significantly. The race that they were running was really different. That was not something that those companies were used to. And the question there was that, were they really fit for the new race? Yeah, my name is Engin Aksu, and for a living, I try to help my company, E.ON, to transform into a lean, agile, and digital company. Same words as you hear everywhere. I'm a member of the leadership team of the Central Change and Transformation team called Excellence On. Before that, I was coming from B2C area in the utility sector again. And I'm also a former management consultant at Deloitte by education. I'm an engineer, but I never worked as an engineer. And today, I will give you a chronological story of 3 companies in total, RW, Innogy, and now E.ON. And first, I will touch how did fundamental changes affect the utilities. And then what are the two highlights of a change journey? I'm going to share you two perspectives from the energy, which I witnessed with my own eyes. And then the last is how do we work on keep playing the game at the moment at E.ON, and I will share two essentials that we are trying to do at the moment. Okay, let's go back to year 2012. I mentioned you that the game for the utilities has changed significantly. What happened? Anyone remembers? Fukushima, right? The nuclear reactor. And then what was the implications in Europe after that? The first thing in Germany, nuclear exit, right? Big decision, big decision. And all the companies that I'm mentioning have huge nuclear assets. What else? After that, there was huge installment of renewables capacities into the system because there was really big subsidies. We are going out of nuclear, conventional generation is going down, so renewable energies should be the main source of energy. So the capacities are really rising significantly. What else? Also financial crisis back then, 2011, 2012. The regulatory environment was really changing in continental Europe. Even in some markets, actually, the regulator was really intervening more and more in the markets. So that was really affecting big companies' utilities. And last but not least is the shale gas boom, if you remember, that mainly comes from the US. There was this negative oil to gas spread, which is again a big hit to the financials of the utilities in continental Europe. And of course, at the end, this is Energiewende, so this is not working at the moment. No power? Okay. Energiewende in Germany, of course, was putting a lot of stress and new changes as well. And I will now show you how did fundamental changes affect utilities. And now I'm showing you the figures of RWE back then. So what do you think this graph shows us? In 5 years' time, in billion euros, there is a 50% decrease. Any guesses? Operating result of RWE. In 5 years, 50% loss. How about that one? 75% loss in 5 years. This is the market cap at year end. What do you think this one is? In 5 years, from 3.5 euros to nothing. Well, dividend per share, and then net debt to market cap ratio. So this is what happened in 5 years' time. So these are real figures for RWE. And then, actually, for the company, that was a strong signal to change what the company is doing. Let's go back to the 2012, so the same time. I showed you a ship that was not sailing anymore because that was the analogy for the company. So the sea is over and you're a huge ship and you cannot sail anymore because the sea is not there anymore. And continuing with the ship analogy, the captain of the ship, so back then the CEO of RWE, Peter Therium, in 2012-13, they met with the top 50 executives of RWE to discuss how to save the ship. And then too many ideas, too many discussions, of course. And then at some point in time, they have realized, I was not there, by the way, of course, I was hearing this from my colleague, but at some point they realized that what they are discussing are pretty much always the same stuff. So nothing really new. And, you know, doing the same things and expecting a different result. Definition of insanity by Einstein, right? And then they also hit them. It's not what they are doing, but also how do they do things is also important. And this also needs to change as well. Because as we all know, the culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And in order to measure the how side, so how we do things, at that time we used OHI, Organizational Health Index. So some of you, most of you are familiar, I would imagine, from McKinsey again. And the results were quite shocking. So 5 out of 9 categories in this organizational health index, RW scored like this. For strategy translation, we were at the bottom quartile as compared to the benchmark group. For leadership, bottom quartile. For outward orientation, bottom quartile. Performance and motivation, third. And trust, third quartile. So that was how we measured house site, as Jerry mentioned. Is it measurable? Yes, it was measurable. And this is what we measured back then. And that was quite shocking, but also healthy, I would say, because this gave a clear picture of some things has really need to be changed. And that was the signal to change also how we do things. And then I think this is very common, so too many initiatives, projects, programs going in the direction of changing what we do things. This is more regarding setting up a new functional strategy, setting up the company for a more innovative one, and so on. But mainly in the house side, there are many things considered, because the current leadership and the individual capabilities and behaviors realized that it was a competitive disadvantage, and then it doesn't help us to innovate and learn. And then there were some change priorities defined for that. So strategy translation, again, I heard it a couple of times today here. Leadership to the next level, again, I heard it a couple of times this year. Outward orientation, again, it was a big thing for RWE back then. Feedback, again, something I remember hearing before. Rewarding performance and having courage to trust. And then all these things translated into some change programs. And it started with the leadership at the very top. TTA is top team alignment. That was really for the top team to align what they're going to do and how they're going to do, how they're going to work in the future. The next one is a program called NLL, Next Level Leadership. This time 1 level lower, so getting more leaders inside, but again, purely concentrating on leadership element. Delivering breakthrough performance was the next one. Again, going into more in the direction of Lean Six Sigma, systemic change, I also heard today. And then the last one was NWOW, New Ways of Working, which was a program for the entire company. So the idea was to cover 70,000 people, more or less, and it did at the end, with new ways of working. I said that I'm going to share 2 highlights, and this is the first one of the entire change journey, let's say. At least this is a highlight from my perspective. So the first highlight was identifying blocking patterns. So we said that there is an issue with how we do things, but what is the real issue in terms of how we do things? So that also has to be identified. And then back then, the iceberg method used for the company. I think also iceberg, I can imagine you are also using, or you know what it is. And back then, more than 2,000 iceberg sessions done in the entire company. This is a lot of investment, a lot of time and capacity investment. More than 2,000 iceberg sessions done. And then the team consolidated all the results of the iceberg session. And then we have identified back then what we called 4 blocking patterns, systemic patterns. The first one, vertical distance. As you can imagine, it was also a quite hierarchical company. There were some leaders that they used to see their teams twice a year. This is less than 10 years ago, not really in the 50s or 40s. And delegate responsibility without authority. And one quote was identified very frequently, is that I don't give negative feedback. Not the leaders giving any negative feedback, or no one in the company actually. So this vertical distance was quite imminent. Even board members used to have their own elevators in RWE, in Essen, for example. The second one, working in silos. Again, no big surprise. I also heard it in some other presentations today. But that was something that was easily killing up building something new. And then the famous quote for us was that I lead my area, but not RWE. Yeah. The third one, not holding boundaries. And one quote for that was that I stay below the radar and wait until it is over. Too many initiatives come in, too many projects come in. How about consequence management? It was not really there. Are we really holding the boundaries? Are we really managing the process? Are we really following how we manage process? And the last one was no time for reflection and outward orientation. Outward orientation, you show in the previous slide that it was really in the lowest quartiles, is that the mindset was like, I mean, we know the best. We don't need to look outside. We know our business. We are the biggest or one of the biggest, so why should we deal with outside world? So those were the 4 identifying blocking systemic patterns. And what these were leading to is actually when you observe the company with these mental models strongly woven inside people, actually they behave in the direction of these mental models, right? And as a new joiner, if you join the company with these blocking patterns in place, after a couple of months as a new joiner, you would be pretty much behaving in the same way, because this is really hardly woven in the company culture. Then, the second highlight, and I also heard this today as well, change starts with me. That was really a famous quote within RWE Energy world back then. I would say still it is, that we refer to that whenever is needed already today. Change starts with me. So if these systemic patterns really drive my behavior, how I act, how I react, if I change my behavior today, now, at this point in time, and do behave differently, then I can affect my team, and then in the long run, also the organization, the systemic patterns would woven then differently or change differently. So it was really about the tiny habits to break down these systemic patterns. For example, Gemba walks, so vertical distance I mentioned. Introduction of the Gemba walks was really strong. So leaders really visiting the shop floor, let's call it this way, what is really happening there, and talking with the employees over there, really going into day-to-day business. As I said, the iceberg logic, so I shift my mental model and I define my future behavior. Again, that was really common in our terminology also back then. So how would you imagine your team after a year? What would you observe if you step into this team room, let's say, after a year? What we would like to see, how we work, how we communicate, how we make decisions, how we lead our business. Let's define that. And then, okay, what are the things that we need to do differently now so that we can reach this future picture? Take them, make them actions, and really try them day by day. Leading from the future, as I mentioned, and design the interactions that hopefully overcome the blockers going further. Of course, define, measure the visible outcomes. That was also really important. Measure, learn, improve. Again, the major thing comes from the lean philosophy again. This is very strong in what we have done. And the same measurement after 4 years. The first one I showed you was 2012. Now, this is 2016. The strategy translation is now in the second quartile. Leadership, the same. Outward orientation, performance and motivation, and trust. That was what happened with all these large programs and interventions in 4 years' time. This is the house side. So now I said that it's a chronological story. All these initiatives actually worked, I would say, quite well. RWE is separated into 2, RWE and Energy. RWE was the mother company, and Energy continued this journey for a couple of more years as well. And Energy became a quite successful company. Maybe you remember the IPO of Energy was one of the biggest in the German history as well. So 2.6 billion euros IPO, quite big. And the financials of the company was quite strong. Also employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction as well. So all these things obviously worked, I would say, and then so that E.ON was interested in acquiring Energy as a successful company. And this is what happened in 2019. And actually, the race is keep changing, by the way. So remember at the beginning, I show you these track athletes, and I told them that yeah, the race is changing. But the race that I mentioned here with these athletes was actually with clear rules, right? With clear winners and losers, with a clear finish line. So at the end, we know who wins, who loses. When the game finishes, everyone goes home. So that kind of game, that kind of race is that. But is it actually like that? So actually, it's not a race that I described for the utilities. I would say for every business, yeah, not only for utilities. Actually, the race is an infinite one. So I see some people smiling. So again, most probably you have also know this. So James Cars, the American academic who wrote this book in 1986, Finite and Infinite Games. And then, famous guy, British American author and motivational speaker. I think we all watched him. Then in 2019, based on the thinkings of Cars, he also published this The Infinite Game book. And what he mentioned over there is that the infinite game that we are in at the moment is actually requires constant improvement and learning. This I also heard in some other presentations as well. Continuous improving, infinite mindset. It's all about here. And this is actually the infinite mindset is. And what Sinek said is that he compiled in total 5 practices, let's say, how to make a success in the infinite game. And with the infinite mindset that is required from the leadership team in the organizations, he said that this is the only way to become more stronger, to become more innovative, to become more inspiring, but also resilient as well. So you need an infinite mindset. And then he said, okay, there are 5 principles, or not principles, practices that you can embed infinite mindset. Yeah, I mean, I will not really go into that. This is a bit of a definition of finite and infinite games. But maybe one thing to mention is that one big difference in the infinite games is that there is no such thing as winning or losing. The important thing is to keep playing the game, like a company. Keep surviving, because the change is coming all the time. New technology, new competitors, keep playing the game so that you don't get bankrupt, actually. So that's why this infinite game and infinite mindset, I think, makes a lot of sense. So, the first essential he mentioned, having a strong moral cause. He said having a just cause. And this is an example from E.ON right now. I don't know if you have heard or came across in internet or YouTube that there is a new change makers campaign of E.ON. Anyone saw it somewhere? Some commercials in TV, in YouTube? No? Okay. So maybe it's not that successful yet, I would say. Okay, so anyone knows this guy? Reinhold Messner, right? Famous mountaineer who climbed all the, is it 14 high climbs in world, more than 8,000 meters? He's the guy. And what you see here is, this is in Austria, a glacier at the end you see, which is simply melting every single day. So it's dying, let's say. And this guy saw with his own eyes, let's say, that this is happening. This is climate change, and this is happening, and we're losing our world in that respect. And this is the campaign that we have started. This is our CEO, Leo Birnbaum, and some of them are employees of E.ON, some of them customers. And what we said is that now it's time for action. Action for climate. And you know what Sinek said for the having a strong and moral cause? And the cause for the company is to become something bigger than us, to really help the future of our world, of our children as well. So that really as a company, what do we do? What's our purpose? We really help our customers to change their behavior every single time with the products, services, or infrastructure that we provide, so that they can reduce their carbon footprint. This is the headline for the purpose, and this is what this campaign is all about. This is for outside world, of course, but this is for us as well as employees of E.ON. Really, you know, why do I go to work every single day? And what I do every single day helps to what? This. Saving this amount of CO2 each year, and hopefully with all other such initiatives, let's say, we will have a better world, let's say. So first one, having a strong moral cause. I'm not saying that this is the best, but this is what we have at the moment, and I think in the infinite game, this really helps. Next, the second essential, having trusting teams. And this again, I heard a couple of times in some other presentations as well. Trust, really important. And at E.ON, what we have been testing, and now it's more like we are really applying it, I would say, is Gallup or Clifton Strengths. And some of you might have already familiar, huh? So it's a tool, let's say, that gives you your 34 top strengths for any individual. And the whole idea is that how to make it possible, how to provide an environment, let's say, in our company, in our team, so that every single person have the chance to realize themselves, let's say, or be themselves every single day. Be open, tell to their teams that they're not happy, they failed, or they really perform well, they don't like what they do, so anything. So really having the platform, the ability, the environment to be themselves. And in order to do that, we use this Clifton Strengths, for example. And what you see here is that, I mean, this is my profile, by the way. So this is the result of this such test, and it gives you your top strengths, or what are the others, and so on. And how we also use it is like this what you see is a duo analysis that we use. So this is one person over here, and this is a second person over here, and how these two people match actually. So what is their common strengths? What are the things that one person gives and what the other one is lacking, so to say, and what is their common blind spot? So if these people are really working together so that they have a real better understanding in terms of each other. So what do they really enjoy to do? What is their natural best in terms of their day-to-day performance? Also, this is the last thing that I wanted to show you, is that this is a sample team grid in that respect, so that the team also has the visibility of each other. Again, this is not to discriminate anyone. So this really comes from positive psychology and really concentrating on the strengths rather than trying to make our weaknesses a bit better. This is really concentrating on the strengths so that we know each other, that we know what we bring it to the table, we enjoy what to do, we don't enjoy what topics we are doing, and really providing this transparency in a team for the leader as well, so that again, every single day, people can feel safe at work, let's say. And then essential number 2 again, this is a quote from Sinek as well, so I didn't write it, but actually it fits quite well also with what we are doing with Clifton Strength, is that waking up every single morning inspired, feel safe at work, and return home fulfilled. And this is just one approach, the strengths approach, one approach to make sure that this is happening. And this is the essential number 2, to have trusting teams. Thank you very much. That was what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Engin. Thank you. This was inspiring and refreshing to have you here on the floor. So we could really tell that you live that stuff, right? And I would even say that positivity shouldn't be number 10. Yeah, it should be in the top 3 or so. All right, so we will end the day with, I'm sure, fascinating speech. No, sorry, we have Mr. Neubauer at the end. Sorry, Guido Bayer will now present Barefoot. You're grounded. I'm looking very much forward to this.
I'm totally grounded. So I hope you all are also grounded. I will not ask for your energy level again because it's, of course, it has risen by this fantastic speech. So if you feel somehow that you need a little bit, so after this short break, you need to be inspired again. One exercise I always do when I feel a little bit tired is just 5 times spread your hand and do it 5 times. So this is very easy. It will activate your blood, and so then it's getting a little bit better. So I need to say that I was invited for a conference last week, and was a conference about workplaces. And 75% of this presentation I hold last week. And there are some numbers in it, and I'm not sure if I can if I can annoy you with this number. So maybe I will jump sometimes a little bit. But so I thought about during the conference and all these very valuable speeches and interesting topics, what I can add to what you have already learned or discussed. And I try to focus on this, what you have probably not heard during this day. Okay, yeah, I changed the name of the speech a bit. Culture eats everything. I think we all know culture eats strategy for breakfast. What we found out during our work at Deutsche Telekom is that strategy is just an appetizer. Culture eats anything, technology, everything. And I will show you what I mean with this. And with the 77 human needs system, which you can also see outside, this is an approach we use at Deutsche Telekom, and I was happy enough that I could invent it during my time at Deutsche Telekom and run my own business with it in parallel. So that's I'm a very happy employee of Deutsche Telekom because they allowed me to be innovative, and because it was a little bit slow at Deutsche Telekom. It took too much time to create a new innovative tool, and said, okay, come on, I want to do it on my own. And then they said, okay, we let you go. And now they brought me in again. So just, okay, fine. So I will tell you a little bit about, you know a lot about culture, I think more than me, but what I want to add is a little bit more going deeper into experience, because human experiences are, in my opinion, is where culture is really make the difference. And not only culture, but culture is one of the most important things, especially when it comes to work. And I will refer to on a study which we run 2019, just before COVID, and we have seen some numbers on this day which were collected before COVID, and we found these numbers quite actual. Even after 2 years and with COVID, which totally changes the game. But what I want to show you is we had a project was called Digital at Work. So we run this for 5 years. It was a project. Deutsche Telekom is a big company, 200,000 employees worldwide, and 200 million customers. And the question was, so if we want to go more digital, how can we create a culture and the tool set and the mindset to be successful? And there was a cooperation of, which is not normal in a big company, of the communication team, the IT guys, the security guys, HR, and I missed someone, but okay, those the key players. And whenever I talk to colleagues which are involved in this digital working, digital collaboration stuff, they all a little bit jealous that we had this cooperation, because when COVID came, we were completely ready for it, and it was a question of one day, and everything works. So it just was a kind of positive coincidence here. But we measured all the time what we did by how many new tools had we rolled out, how many people we have trained, how many trainings we run. But we never measured our impact. And when we ask ourselves about what really have changed in the company, then we focused on collaboration, because that was from at this time and still now was the biggest topic within the company. I think in many big companies this is the key issue. How can all these different people collaborate well, especially digitally? And what I want to show you is, I hope this is not too complex at this time. So just we don't need to run completely through it. We can discuss it. I'm here tomorrow and in detail. What I want to focus on: does this with the light works? Yeah, cool. So we had in the middle of our model as a quality of collaboration, and this is where we spent the money and what we did all the years. We invested something in culture, something in creating workplaces, central or decentral, and we included new tools. And of course this took money, and we run trainings. And of course we wanted to know what happened now. So the quality of collaboration was in focus. We don't need to care about this here. This is how we measured it. And after this quality of collaboration, something more is coming. Quality of collaboration cannot be the final target. So we said, okay, what is important for us? We want to have a look at how all this, what we do affects employee experience, affects the business, and our impact on society. And we were a little bit too early with the impact of society because no one really thought about it in 2019, seriously. And so now a few numbers come, and please, we don't need to focus too much on it. I have a more simple graphic then. But I just want to show you that it is possible to measure, and it's possible to run a model, because we're talking about data-driven data science and so on. Data is useless as long as you work with it in the fashion from 100 years, means and medians and some, because if you don't, if you cannot see how the impact is of the money you invest, then I think data is not really well used. So what I want to show you is, and we can focus on this here. Culture has the biggest impact on quality of collaboration, and the quality of collaboration itself can explain a lot and really affects a lot the employee experience, also business and society not so much. And this is more a simple one. It was just okay, you have seen now, okay, we can measure it and we can put some numbers behind it. This looks a little bit different, so it's a lot more simple. So when we try to explain how the quality of our collaboration is driven, then we see that culture is 50% of the whole impact. Of course, you can ask, okay, what culture? How they measured culture? How they, what is behind it? I will come to this later. Digital tools, which we rolled out also a little bit, and decentralization. A good thing is has a positive effect. There are a lot of fears, so if people will not work in one place, in one office, then this will have a negative impact. It was not the case. And 21% we cannot explain with the model. So, and why? Because culture was so important, 50%, I focused and played a little bit around with the numbers and had a look at, so this classical employee experience KPIs everyone knows, like employee satisfaction, employer recommendation, how the impact of culture is on this KPIs. And we did very simple statistics. It's a statistic for dummies here, just in the median split, put and from this culture value we had the half with a lower culture and the half of the people with a higher culture. And what we found then was that our employees who experience a better culture have a 70% higher employee satisfaction. 70%, this is quite a lot. 70%, that's a big number. And 40% employee recommendation, more or higher. And this is somehow money. I'm not able to transfer it in dollars, but I think we can be sure that this is a value here. Oops, was too much. So, but to understand why it is so, why this, what happens when people, what makes, we have heard about this touching the heart, sometimes today, and I want to discuss with you how it is possible to touch the heart of human, and I love to start with an everyday life picture, because we all were kids someday. So in my case, it's a long time ago, but I remember somehow how much fun it is, and you can see it in your children, you can see it on the streets, and it's also fun when you're an adult and you do it again, jumping into a puddle. The question can be why it is fun. And very often when we talk experience, so it must be fun. It must be somehow positive. This kid has a very positive experience because when we go a little bit, when we 1 second later, there will water pop up. There will be some noise, and this is feedback. And feedback is a need which is very important for us. And we had this feedback topic here again. It's not important for kids. It's important for adults too. It's one of the most important things when it comes to work. And this is why feedback is important for us to learn. If you are a kid, then it is important for you to learn that, oh, when I'm doing something, something happens. And if this, what happens, is what you want, then you feel control, by the way. Feedback is kind of prerequisite for feeling control. And this is what, by nature, is, evolution has given us a set of needs which we need to get fulfilled to develop our whole potential as humans. And feedback is one of them. In the beginning, I've shown you the number 77, which is quite a lot, because humans are complex. And during my 25 years of experience as a business psychologist, I found out that Maslow was a good guy, but it's not enough. There are some more needs, and if people talk about 6 or 8 or 10 needs, then it's interesting, but this is far too less. So it cannot describe us as humans. So what is experience? And now I come to the core of the whole explanation. There are outside some funny definitions or more or less useful definitions. Experience, and maybe you have heard about employee experience, is everything an employee, every moment an employee somehow deals with their company, and so this is gets never to the core what experience really is. Experience is in our head, and it happens all the time, just now, in all of us, and this experience always, I just jump a little bit forward, when a human with its needs interact with an environment, in our case is mostly an enterprise, then in our brain always happens the same thing. We compare what we need with what they get. That sounds quite simple. We compare what we need with what they get. It's becoming a little more complicated when we think about what we need. And during this comparison, as an outcome of this comparison, we create emotions, cognitions, and actions. And very seldom cognitions, because mostly all this is unconscious. And otherwise our brain could not process this. But the emotions and the actions are very important for us, because actions are we can easily categorize into 3 categories. Love it, leave it, change it. If you like something, you say, okay, I want to have it, and I want to keep it, and I want to have it again. If you don't like something, okay, I leave it. For instance, if there would be terrible noise, then I would go out. So, and if you have the feeling, okay, I like it a bit, but it's not perfect, then you change it a little bit. So, and this is what we do during our work all the time. When we have a look of this activated needs profile, because it's the most interesting thing here to understand how does it occur, then I would focus on this. We are humans. We have an evolution-driven needs profile. 77 is my opinion, but of course maybe 10% less or más o menos. We have a genetic disposition which differs us. We have all an individual learning history, and the context is important. And as HR people, for instance, and there are a lot of HR people, we continuously create working contexts. We create workplaces, culture, and this, of course, affects needs profiles of our employees. And we also, as HR people, on the right side here, because when we create, and this doesn't matter if we talk about customer experience or employee experience. Experience is human experience. Works the same. Here on this side, we have the satisfiers. And normally a value chain in a company, you can summarize it a little bit like that. And an HR department somehow works also like this. HR is here as a kind of basic function, But if you create something, for instance, a new measure for culture, then you have somehow your marketing people who communicate it. Someone needs to produce it, and that's still the same. So, what I want you to understand is whenever someone is talking about experience, that experience is something what happens in our brain unconsciously all the time as a result of the comparison of what we need and what we get. And we can always think about the dimensions emotion, cognition, and action. So, and this is a little trick I can explain later. I will flip over it, but when I ask people 5 years later, when they have seen a presentation, what they remember, then it's always the girl jumping into a puddle and this insect here, because our brain works that way. It's just a little illustration. My daughter told me, "Oh, you have drawn a bee," when I show her this model. She surprised me and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" "You're drawing a bee, that's nice." I said, "Okay, I will take this picture and do something with it." And this is a hornet, because hornet is dangerous. We have all learned about the dangerousness of hornets, which is totally rubbish, but our parents and their parents told them. And if needs are so important, then just let me shortly give you an overview about the 77 human needs system, because it helps us really to understand and to create customer and employee experiences. I have worked in Deutsche Telekom for 12 years now, 7 years in the design department, creating customer experience, and 5 years now in the HR department, caring for employee experience. And I think most of you know Maslow. It starts with Maslow and it ends with Maslow, and there's a little bit difference between. I've included some other needs typologies, and 21st, I think 1/3 is on my own experience here. So first category, in short, physical needs. We are all somehow physical beings. We need to keep our body and our human race going. Sleeping is one, for instance. I don't know who of you is sleeping in this hotel. Yes, me too. That's why I could not only give a 2 if I asked later for activation. So, but now it's better. Of course, very important. And you will find that these needs are not only listed. Okay, we have a list of 70 needs. We described them, illustrated them, that you have a better, have another approach to understand it. And below there are some emotions are described if the need is fulfilled or not. Then we have sensual needs. This is special in this this approach, because I'm totally convinced that our senses are very important for how we feel. And as the example before, if it is loud or if it smells bad, then we leave. So it's very directly connected to our behavior. If you ask why there are 9, so we can discuss it later. Sometimes we have an intensive discussion about the different sensual needs here. Hearing, as an example, and music, for instance, is one of the most beautiful satisfiers for our need to listen or to hear. Next category, actional needs, and this is the biggest category. 21 needs are in here, and this is also special, to be honest. Starts with curiosity and ends with entertainment, and there's a lot of stuff above here, which is very, very important when we work, because working normally is somehow meaningful action. And normally human always, when they act meaningful, start with setting a goal, they plan something, then they do something to realize it, and then they need feedback. Here we have it again. Reward, all this is also HR stuff if you work in a company. And we have also some interesting needs, like destroying, for instance. And you can always ask, if I would skip this need from our tableau of human needs, could we still be human and have this potential as we have? If we would not destroy, if we would not have this, sometimes this need would say, come on, you need to destroy something, then we could not build something new. It is necessary. And a lot of the gaming industry is of course, has a lot of profit from our need to destroy, and it's a good way to destroy something. Feedback, here we have this girl again. And social needs, here we are back to Maslow, and but we have a lot of them, 18, because, and so this is a good example to demonstrate why we have so many needs. Of course, one can say belonging. is a very important need, the 50 here. You will find it somewhere. So belonging, yeah, it's quite important. And that's right, that's right. But if you want to create a measure, a product, a service, a communication, whatever, and you want to address a need somehow as related to belonging, then it makes totally sense to go one step deeper, because the quality of belonging is totally different. The emotionality of belonging is totally different if we talk about belonging in a workplace or in a football club, or if it's about friendship, if it's about love or family. This is all belonging, but it's totally different. And that's why I decided to split it up. One of the most important social needs when it comes to work, also we have heard it a lot of times today, is respect. And if you like to read it, you can have a look at the cards and our booth. Last category, Maslow called them transcendental needs. Transcendental is a little bit too complicated for me to spell, so I said ideal needs here. This is including our values. Values we getting from our family, from the culture. Sometimes we were able to choose a little bit, but mostly this is a question of education. And here are some interesting ones, and I hope I have performance here. Yeah, that's great. Performance is, and just I want to make a connection to this track and field people, because in order to understand performance better, we had a project at Deutsche Telekom called Redefine Performance. Because, I think everyone has an issue that we always need to ask ourselves, how can we bring our people to perform best? How can we make them to perform best as HR guys? And the good news was performance is a need on its own. You don't need to bring the people and push the people to perform because they want to perform. It's a need. It's our task to set the right context and to set the right, to make the barriers vanish. And in order to understand this better, I had an interview with Gina Lückenkämper. I don't know if you have heard about her. She was 4 years ago, the fastest 100-meter girl in Germany, and the face of the track and field European Championship in Berlin a few years ago. And in this interview, we had planned 30 minutes, and we ended in 2 hours. Took this interview to find out what really drives her to perform best. And we ended with 10 factors which were important for her. Of course, not as an athlete is a special people, of course, but 7 of these 10 are also very relevant. How many time do I have? 2 minutes. Oh, okay, I need to run. These are the 77 needs, and okay, so you can have a look at it if you want. So this having needs is fine. Just I want to show you that there's a methodology behind it, and we use it also for. Actually, we have a study at Deutsche Telekom to understand our employee experience and culture better, and this is a methodology you can use for customer experience and employee experience. Same thing. It's very strong in understand what really is why people behave the way they do, or why people don't behave the way we expect. If you want to understand this. You can always explain it with the needs which are active at the moment. We are always successful with this. If you have understood it, we can create measures, then we need to communicate them, and then we can learn it. You can always use this needs logic to refer, create, do I really support performance here? When I communicate it, do I really support it, and so on. These are just an illustration. We have methods, but I want to show you one interesting thing. Back to this to the study. This is just for activating your brain. This is the last slide. I need to show you this because what I wanted to go a little bit deeper. What needs are really benefit from a good culture? What is it? If we look, have a closer look, and what we find here is depending on the culture. And I see I need to show another slide with what we understand with culture is. Every need that we had wins if the culture is good. We had a question of 400 people, 21 needs were included here. And communication, okay, but I want to move your eyes to this performance again, because the amount where people say I can perform at my best at Deutsche Telekom increases up to 100, up to 98. Okay, it doubles. Let's say it doubles. So if you can double the fulfillment of need, I want to perform. then you see again how important culture is and what an effect it has. So this is, yeah, okay, yes, this is the last one. How we defined culture. It was a study referring to collaboration. That's why we have this questions here. What is the most important? We have 3 tiers, I think, here. The biggest issue was in our company, information shared openly. Really, frankly, with the text, I think we have heard about it sometimes today. And hierarchy does not matter. We are open for feedback and so on. The most important things, and this is, I work also not only for not for Deutsche Telekom only. I work for other companies too. And what we always find is, and maybe this is really last, yes. So this is the needs which we always find somehow drive culture. So if you you can describe the culture you have by the fulfillment of needs of the people. And here a few examples how you can ask for it if you have a questionnaire. And the bold ones, these are the ones that we found in any study we run during the last 5 years. And this is not surprising that we have heard about it so often today, because somehow it's a core of culture. And not walking the talk, for instance. It's hard for me to stop, okay? Come on, someone could take this away from me, please, here. So okay, yes, let's finish. So you can read it on your own. So this is just an example. Yeah, okay.